anybody hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to go into the, make sure I can see my comments here. Oh my gosh. Yes, okay, you can hear me. I can hear myself. Oh. All right, can you hear me now? Let's see. My microphone's not working. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Now you can hear me, but I'm getting some bad feedback. I need that on. Hello? Okay. Oh gosh. Let's see. Where's my comments? Okay, let's see. Where's the comments on here? So I can hopefully. Oh, there we go. Yay! I can see my comments. Okay. I'm hoping you can hear me now. Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. I am so sorry I'm so late. This is my first time doing this, so I'm like, gah. Anyway, yeah. I'm here now. I didn't type in a description, so that's why I couldn't go live, and I didn't realize I've never done this before, so I didn't know I had to do that. I really apologize. I'm gonna go right into the description here. I'm going to turn down my volume so I don't get feedback. I'm going to go right into the demo. I'm going to show you, this is what we're working on today. Can you see this? You can't see it yet. Let's see. Yeah, so this is the project background that we're going to be doing today. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. Hi, Lynn. How you doing? Hi, Catherine. Hi, hi, Els. Oh, I don't know what that is. I have no idea. I don't know. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, yes, I apologize to everybody for being so late. Yeah, anyway, this is my first time, so hopefully in the future it'll be a smoother process. But yeah, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just get into the demo, so that we can get moving on this. And I apologize in advance. I cannot zoom in with my setup, so we're just going to kind of make it work. All right, so let's see. The first thing that I just want to show you is that I cut out a page using the Annette's new Delightful Discovery paper from the Everyday Memories collection. And this is the page that I used. It's got this on the front and that on the back. Now, I don't have the original sample in front of me because that, I sent that off to Annette. So I think I used this paper. If not, I used, I don't know what I used. I think I used this, but we're just going to use it. We're going to use this today. All right, so I used this, the die. This is 2334 base page assortment, and you know, this is the new size that fits into the new size planners. Okay. So, let's see. Is the colors a little weird on this? I can't really tell. Let's see. Okay. Well, anyway, we're just going to go ahead and move forward. All right. So to get the background that that I created in that, I did use a stencil material, and I cut out a couple stencils on this with using this die, the what is this? 2339 bee and flower accents. Okay, and you can see that my cat decided that this was a really tasty envelope. I don't know, whatever. So yeah, I just want to give you a little bit of a tip for cutting this stencil material. You know, for most things, I like using my Empress by Anna Griffin. But for some things, and a couple of the things that we're going to be using today, I really can't cut it on that. And so I have to pull out my old Sizzix Big Shot. And this is the sandwich that I use to cut it. I just use my, the regular plate. I use the big thick thingy, the thin die adapter, and then I use this. This is kind of the thing that makes everything work. It's the precision base plate. So if you have this, in your stash, just pull that puppy out. This is a pretty intricate die. So what I found is I just put it on there like this. Okay. And I just run it through. And I'm just going to use this for demo purposes just so you can see how this works. But it just comes right off like that, this stencil material. And then, I'm not going to lie, it takes a minute to kind of poke out all those little pieces. I'm not going to do that here as a part of the demo, because that would take a little while. And, we only have now and half an hour. So, okay, so that's that. For getting this background to work, let's see. All I did is I took these little, these stencils. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, stencils. All right, I took these stencils and I just, kind of, this one I just laid out like this. Now this is to a large extent going to be covered up by the pocket that we put over the top, so this one isn't quite as, critical as the other one, but, it kind of helps to have that in there. And then I just use my burnishing tool to burnish that down, make sure it's, adhered really well. This is adhesive backed, this stencil material. And, yeah, I took this one and I applied it, let's see, okay. Okay, yeah, Erin's saying that she has the precision-based plate too. It is really great for detailed stuff, I agree. So Dar asked about the stencil material. I'll tell you what, I don't know if I'm supposed to, mention what the name of it is. I'll have to ask Elle afterwards, but I will find out, basically there's, you can just Google it. there are stencil materials. You want to make sure you have something that's low tack. And something that's not going to ruin your paper, that's designed to be used on paper. And not all stencil materials are designed to be used on paper, but if you Google it, you know, you should be just fine. If I'm allowed to share the name of what I used with you, I will go ahead and post that as part of the discussion for this live. Maybe I think that's how it works. I'm not quite sure. Okay. And then what I did is I used, let's see. Oh, you rub a piece, Belinda, that's a good idea. Rub a piece of wax paper before cutting your intricate dies. It helps it release faster. That's a good idea. Okay. And then I used this crackle paste, the translucent one. And I just used a palette knife to kind of go over the top of it. All right. And, oh, this is looking much better. It was a little dry last night when I was, you know, prepping for this. I added some water, and it seems to be a better consistency now, especially after, you know, sitting overnight. So yeah, I just add this over the top like this. You know, I kind of, it doesn't really matter if it's a completely even layer or anything. I'm just adding it like this. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit. Now, the thicker you make it, of course, the longer it's going to take to dry, right? So yeah, we'll see how long this takes to dry. I do have one prepped already, so you know, it'll be kind of a little experiment for us. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Just gonna close that puppy up. And I'm gonna get my baby wipes out, which are, you know, a staple of my craft room, so I can clean off my palette knife. Okay. And I'm just gonna take this and place it off to the side so it can dry. And we'll come back to this. I'm not gonna let this dry completely on here. I'm gonna be removing the stencil before it's completely dried, but I'm going to let it set for just a few minutes. Just, you know, let it kind of get to, I don't know, a good point, so it's not quite so wet and easy to, you know, mess up. I just let it set up a little bit. Okay. But I don't want it completely dry before I take it off. Okay. All right. So while we're waiting for that to dry and take that off, I'm going to go ahead and do the next thing. Let's see. This is, where is it? Where's my page? Okay. And I'm having some, oh, here it is. Okay. So here's my page that I prepped last night. Now I put it in, you know, this wax paper like this because this, as it's drying, starts curling up. And, you know, it's hard to work with that way. So I just put it inside of the wax paper so that it didn't get messed up or anything. And then I put it under some books. And I just left it that way for a few hours, overnight, whatever. And that way it's nice and, you know, flattish again. Okay. So all I did to make this background like this is take, you know, my little page, and then I took some of this, this is just a cheap paint that I used. It's a metallic, kind of a metallic brown. I can't remember if I used a makeup sponge or if I used a brush to apply it. So we'll just, you know, we're just going to kind of see. Okay. Oh, hi Anja for the Netherlands. Yay. Yes. Okay. Dar asks, can you use the stencils again? Yes, they do stay sticky. You can definitely use those. Okay. Let's see. Erin, top secret stencil material. Yeah, I don't. That's funny. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what you were talking about when you said dry, but anyway. So I'm just going to add this over the top, and I wanted to get into, you know, all the little grooves and stuff, right? Because, yeah, I guess the makeup sponge works pretty good. So maybe that's what I used. I'm honestly not entirely sure. It's funny because when you're making things like, you know, for the demo, you try a lot of different things before you hit on what works. So it's like sometimes you kind of forget what you did exactly. So yeah, in terms of applying the paint, you know, that's yeah. Okay, so I'm just kind of making sure that I, you know, really kind of get in those little grooves. You can see all the crackle. Hopefully you can see the crackle, you know, showing up now with that. So I'm just kind of, you know, making sure that it gets down in there. And it's already starting to dry because this is not very expensive paint. This is just kind of cheap paint. So I'm just, you know, I'm being kind of generous with the paint. Make sure I get down into all those little crackle pieces. Okay. And then blah, blah, blah. Let's see, I'll keep this. I'll put this somewhere where it's not going to get everything all dirty. Okay. And then I'm going to get my wipies out again. Like I said, those are my very favorite tools to use in my craft room. And all I did was I just kind of, you know, used the wipey to kind of wipe off some of the excess so that you kind of get that you can kind of see underneath it, but the crackles pop. So you're seeing the paper that's underneath. And again, you don't want to overwork this too much because honestly, you know, this isn't watercolor paper or anything. So, you know, you run the danger of kind of like, if you get down to the paper level, actually taking some of the paper off, which we don't want. But yeah, you can see that, you know, the part that's actual paper is pretty dark, you know, because this is where we put the stencil. So that's absorbing right into the paper. But all this other area that has the crackle stuff on it, you're going to see the design of the paper underneath. Okay. All right, I think that's pretty good. I don't, like I said, I don't want to get this paper too wet because, you know, then I'm running to the danger of it actually kind of ruining the paper. But this is a pretty good estimation of what, you know, that other one was, my original, and you can see all of the little crackles popping up off of there, and you know, you get these darker flowers. Okay, I'm gonna see if there's any questions. Okay. Yeah, I love experimenting too, Belinda. That's one of my favorite things about crafting. I like trying new things. Okay, I'm gonna put this off to the side to dry. The trick's gonna be finding a place that doesn't have anything else on it. And then I'll remember where I put it, because I already used my main area for the other one. So all right. So the next thing, you know, while we're letting that dry, okay. So the next thing that we're gonna do, and this is going pretty quick, so that's good. The next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna go into my bag of tricks here. All right, I'm going to use this clear double-sided adhesive, and I'm using some vellum to go over the top of that. Okay, so we're just going to prep that. Prep the vellum. I need to make sure my hands are clean, because I don't need to get any paint all over this, huh? All right. Ooh, I need more, huh? Okay. All right. Just gonna wipe my hands off. So you see that the process for the background is actually pretty fast once you have the stencils pre-made. You know, that goes pretty quickly. I'm not gonna lie, it takes a little while to clean off the stencils, but I think Belinda's idea, was it Belinda or Erin? I forget now, but their idea of wiping the dye down with some wax paper. I've used in the past too, like dryer sheets, you know, the kind so that you don't get static, like a fabric softener dryer sheets. So yeah, so you know, that hopefully will help it not stick as much to that. But anyway, once you have those stencils, it's actually a really pretty quick process. Okay, so I'm gonna attach this to the double-sided tape background. Okay, so this is, you know, you've probably seen this before. This is Elizabeth Craft Design. It's a full sheet, 8.5 by 11 of double stick adhesive, two-sided adhesive. And you know, when you're working with vellum, you need something like this because you can see adhesive under it really well. And also, we're going to be putting this on top of a acetate background. Okay, so this is what I came up with for a way to kind of easily apply the vellum to the double-sided tape. I just scored that, you know, just folded it over, scored it on this side where you can remove it a little bit easier. And then I'm using a little bit of tape. I like this craft tape for the craft room because it's really easy to just tear. You don't have to cut it. You could use masking tape. You can use whatever you have, honestly, but this is what I have, so that's what I'm using. All right, so I'm just kind of peeling this back to the point of the crease. And I'm just going to put this down on here like this, just so it stays flat. It'll just make it easier for me to put the vellum on top. Okay, and so there we go. All right, so now it's just a matter of, let's see, make sure this is actually even with the sides there, more or less. All right, just line this up. And you know, you don't want to lay it down until you've actually lined it up because you can't reposition it. Oops, well, I guess you can reposition it a little bit, but I wouldn't reposition it too much. Okay, so I'm going to line it up with this side here. I don't know why I'm trying to line it up here. I'm going to line it up on the side here like this. And then just use this to burnish that portion down. Okay, then I'm going to lift this up, remove that tape, and it doesn't really matter if you have a little bit in there because, you know, if you lose a little bit of the adhesive in there, because we're not going to use every square inch of this, right? I mean, we're just going to use, some of it, but definitely not every square inch. Okay, so that's buckling. I'm just going to take that off. Okay, there we go. So I've got that, like that. Again, I'm going to burnish it down. Okay, and then I'm just going to fold it over like this. I'm right-handed, so it helps me to do it from this direction. You could use like a burnishing tool. This is just like a dough. I don't know, I'm not a baker, but people that bake, I'm sure you know what this is. This is like a pastry thingamabobber. Okay, so this is how I'm doing it, and you can use any brayer that you have. This is, I just got this one at Daiso, super cheap. All right, I can see that this is already, it's like a little buckle right there, but that's okay. All right, the rest of this should be just fine. So I'm just going to put it down. Okay, and it's a little bit off, but that's okay. Okay, there we go. All right, and then I'm just going to cut it in half. All right, get my die again. And I'm just using my big plate only because my my other one's a little warped, so you know it's a little easier sometimes to use the big one. All right, I'm just laying it on top like that, and this honestly it cuts like butter. I'm using the background, this metal piece in there. Now when I cut the base pages, you know, just from cardstock, I take this metal piece out because it tends to warp the paper a little bit if it's, you know, if I don't. So, all right, let's see. Oops. All right, and I'm just going to run that through. And I'm only showing you this because I want to show you how easy, I mean, not that, you know, you don't know how to use a die cut machine, but just because I want to show you how nicely it cuts. It really does cut very, very nicely. Okay. Oops, this is a little stuck to that. And then there we go. Like butter. It's like butter. Okay, so I'm just taking that off. And again, we probably should have used, I forget if it was Belinda or, oops, and I just took that off. But that was me because I'm going fast. That wasn't the die. So, yeah. Anyway, ignore that. Yeah, that's just because I was trying to go too fast. Okay, and we probably should have used, I don't know, I forget, it was Belinda or Erin that said we should have wiped this down. But anyway, you kind of get the idea. You just poke these little thingies out, these jobbers out, and you have the vellum backed by adhesive, which is just a beautiful thing. Okay, so I'm just going to put that off to the side like that, and that off to the side. Oh. Okay, and then when you take it off, you're gonna get, oops, oh my. Okay, when you take it off, you're gonna get a vellum piece like this after you get all the little doodads out of the inside of there. Okay. For the let's see. Let's go back to the photo. For the what's the word I'm looking for? This is the sample. There you go, sample. For the sample, I used alcohol inks to colorize this. For the demo, I have been thinking that, you know, you could also use Copics. So I tried it last night and it worked great, and it was a little quicker, I think. So, you know, you could do either one, whether you want to do Copics or you want to do alcohol inks, entirely up to you. They both work, and it really depends on what you have in your stash, and you know what colors you have and all that fun stuff. So I'm just, you know, I'm very roughly just kind of going over the vellum. I'm starting with the lightest color, and this flower in the middle here is going to be yellow. The leaves are going to be green. Imagine that. And the and this flower up here, this little rose, is going to be like a pinkish color. Okay, so yeah, so I'm just kind of going over it a couple times, you know, very, very roughly, not like trying to be precise or anything at all. Okay, I'm going for a very watercolory look. All right, so I'm starting with this very lightest color. This is Y00. Okay, if you are interested in the colors. All right, and then I'm just going to kind of go like this. Try not to get it on my work surface because it will stain. There we go. And I'm just working from the middle out, so I kind of am building up the color. There we go. I think that looks really pretty. And I'm not trying to get every square inch. I'm just trying to, you know, that was, what was it? Y15. Okay. And then I'm doing, you know, the next color up. This is more of an orangey color. And again, I'm not even going, I'm going in even fewer places. Okay, and this is Y17. And then I'm going with a brownish YR24. And this I'm going to go over the middle part as well a little bit. Okay. All right. And again, I'm just, you know, building up some of the color, trying to get, you know, the look that you want. If you have more time, you can spend more time on them. All right, so the pink is this one right here. And I'm just starting again with the lightest color. This one is R20. Go with R22. And I'm doing like the darker, I'm trying to get like the darker colors toward the base and the lighter colors, you know, toward the end up here. Then I'm doing R23, and I'm not sure there's a huge difference, honestly, between R22 and R23, but you know, whatever, I had it. And then I'm gonna go R43. Okay. And I'm just doing this really quick. I mean, you can do it, you can take your time and be much more precise about the whole thing. I'm not this time around. I'm just trying to get, you know, the colors down. And you know, the nice thing about Copics, if you've worked with Copics before, is that you can blend them and you can kind of, you know, get a nice look like that. Go back with a lighter color. Okay, all right, and then I'm going to do the leaves. So again, I'm starting with the lightest color. I'm going to get a new one of these because that's a bit of a mess. Okay. Ooh, I think I forgot to take the stencil material off of the background. So I should go ahead and do that while I'm thinking of that. And if you overshoot the colors like I just did, like I did on there, you know, you can use the lighter colors to erase that for the most part. Okay. Let's see. Get this area too done. Okay. And you can see the colors hopefully on here. YG03, YG25. And if you want to know what, what's the word I'm looking for? What colors of the alcohol inks I used, I can put that in the description box as well. It's pretty easy. And just building up some of the color here. Okay. Adding a little bit of this. This is a little bit darker color. And I'm not putting it everywhere. I'm just kind of putting it in some strategic areas again. Okay. And this is YG67. Okay. I'm going to come back to that in one sec. I wanted to take the stencil material off of here. Okay, you can see this is still pretty wet. What I've found works really well is to take the stencil material off while it's still fairly wet and put it in some water. And I just have this bin. I think this is from Target, the kind of trail mix that you can buy that's like completely unhealthy for you, but you know, tastes absolutely delicious. And I add just a few drops of Murphy oil. This is like a miracle thing, and it will basically take, you know, it's an essential for any mixed media craft room. It takes paint off. It's great for brayers. It's great for just about everything. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to, you know, start from here. And I'm just using something to hold down the paper while I peel this off. But look at how cool that is. That just comes off. All right, and I'm just going to drop it in there. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this. Now I didn't leave much overhang here with this one. There we go. Okay, there we go. All right, and then what I like about these tubs is that, you know, I mean, I don't want to tip it over too much because it will spill. I mean, it will drip if you try real hard. But you know, it's easy to knock things over in your craft room. Tim Holtz actually recommends, you know, using a little tray, but I don't trust myself with trays. This, at least I know that it's somewhat safe if I put it down there. It's not going to all spill out. And I'm just gonna wipe this up a little bit before I show you what I've got going on here. Okay, so you can see this is all very wet still. It still needs to dry, but you know, that's what you end up with after you take the stencil material off. It's kind of magical to kind of see how that happens. And then once it's dry, you know, you can, like I said, put it under some heavy books to get it to flatten out, because it will, like, I don't know, as it drying, you know, it's making cracks, so it's like it's shrinking, I think. So you can see the paper kind of curling up on itself, so you do need to kind of flatten it out before you move forward. Okay, I'm gonna do this center part of this sunflower here with some browns. In fact, I think I'm gonna add a little bit more of this this darker yellow brown. There we go. Okay. And I just added 2 of these colors. And you know, if you aren't getting enough color on there, you can kind of dab it. Do you see how this comes out like faster and more juicy? So this was E37. And I've got E59. I just like the way that's kind of, I like to, I don't know, it's just very juicy looking like this. I like it. All right, there we go. And I'm gonna get another one of these. Let's see, first, before I do that, I'm gonna get a little bit more yellow to this portion over here so that we just have a little color on this. Okay. Not that that's going to be super visible or anything, but that's fine. Ooh, 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 not good. All right. You don't want that to happen. I just have a little bit of alcohol in a spray bottle. That took it right off my thing. Okay, so now here's where the magic happens. Again, this is rubbing alcohol in this spray bottle, and I think this is really high, like might be 90, 91, something like that, proof, or percent, or I don't know what it is, how they, whatever, the number was 90-ish. It could be 70 or 90. It was a pretty high one. I think probably any would work, but anyway, yeah, that's just what I have in here, just so you know. And all I did was spray it, and look at what happens to it. You just get this really lovely watercolory effect as the colors just kind of start separating, and it's just really pretty. I just love the way that looks, you know, and you can add more, you can add less, whatever. Okay. So yeah, so that just makes it, I don't know, just makes it a little more watercolory. I really like it. Okay. I'm going to let that dry. I'm running out of spots for drying things. Okay. And then the last piece for making this pocket is that I used, you know, just some craft plastic. Like this is a sheet of craft plastic. You know, you can use whatever you've got. You could even use some packaging from like from food and whatnot. Like I like the big, you know, if you get the croissants from Costco, the top is a nice big area. You could even use something like that once you've washed it off and cleaned it. I took this and And again, I cut it off at, you know, I cut it in half. And again, I'm using that, well, I'm not using the intricate die this time around. This time I'm using the background die. So this one. There we go. And I'm going to have to clean that off before I use it again. But, you know, you get the idea. I'm not going to do that now. Okay. And what I do when I, you know, have stencils and things like that. Wow, this is like, there's a lot of stuff on here. Okay. When I have stencils and stuff, I store them in with the dies, just behind the die in these little pocket thingies. Just so that, you know, everything's together when I want to use it. So, you know, it's just like that. So I'll put those other, like, where are they? So like I made, you know, more of these. So I'll just store these in there in the back like that. Okay. I'm not going to try to put it in there right now. Okay, so again, when you are cutting this stuff, the acetate, I'm just showing you because this stuff is a bear to cut with your die cut machine, but I love the look. You know, if you know, you don't have to use acetate, you can use whatever you want. But again, I used my Big Shot, and then I used a couple pieces of really thick, I think this is 110-pound cardstock as shims underneath. Oh, I already have one cut. I'm just going to put that back. All right, so I just use these as shims underneath. I just put them under here. And then, you know, I put this on top, and again, I use my precision base plate. Now, I'll admit with this, I would never use very intricate dies with the acetate. Even like this, it doesn't always cut all the way through the acetate. So, you know, it's not that big of a deal because with a thing like this, it cuts most of the way through. And then I just take my straight edge and I'll, you know, get the areas that didn't cut all the way through. Okay, so this is hard to get through because it doesn't want to go through because it's pretty thick. So I'm gonna have to layer up the top a little bit, and it's not, it doesn't want to go through. Okay, there we go. How about that? Come on, are you gonna cooperate with me today? There we go. Oops. Okay, yes, you're the big shot. Who's the big shot? Yeah, you're the big shot. All right. And this is not easy to get through. So, you know, this isn't absolutely necessary to use acetate. You know, you can use whatever you want as a background. If you don't care about it being see-through for the what's underneath it, you know, don't bother with trying to use acetate. Okay, so I've got that. I use the shim, and ow. And okay, so now you're gonna see this cuts quite a bit of it. Doesn't cut every single, well, it's doing actually pretty good on this one. Huh. All right. See, it's making a liar out of me. It made a liar out of me. Okay. But if it for some reason doesn't, which I've had it not work, you know, you just take your straight edge, and you can do it directly on this, you know, cut directly on your precision base plate and kind of just go around, you know, the areas, you know, where it didn't cut through entirely. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put this puppy away. I'll just put it in there. All right, so where did I put it? All right, so now I think this is dry. Let's see. It's not entirely dry yet, but close enough. So I'm just going to put it between here, and I wouldn't normally do this. I just let it dry naturally, but I'm trying to, you know, move it along here because we got a late start, and I apologize for that, guys. Okay, so hopefully you can see that this is, you know, this is the outline. Now you can take, actually what I did is I took my alcohol and I just very quickly cleaned this off, and this will help so that the make sure it's you know, completely transparent, and also so that it helps the adhesive to stick. So yeah, I did that. Okay, and I took this, and I didn't take the adhesive off of the whole back. I just did a portion of it, and then I tried to position this. Now this is not going to line up with this edge. You want to make sure the leaf is lined up, because that will overhang this. Okay. All right. So it's a little hard for me to see. I'm just going to do it upside down. All right. All right, this is a little fiddly, not gonna lie. All right, and then once you get this lined up, yay, you can just, this will help it stick to the surface too, so it makes it a little easier to adhere than the rest of it. Okay, so then you just kind of peel this off like this. All right. Okay. All right. And again, let's see, I got something on the back of here. Don't need that. It's a little doodad from the die cut. And then I'm just going to burnish that down. And actually, this is kind of pretty too. I don't know, you might be able to use that. I use everything. I throw nothing away. That's why my house is a mess. Okay. All right. And then there you go. That's what you've got. Just like that. Isn't that pretty? Okay. So then pretty much the last thing that I did for this project, and I need a good surface to do this on. Where is my thingamabobber? That one's not big enough. We went on a retreat recently, and some of my peeps from the retreat are here. Yay! Thank you guys for my Buy Nothing Junk Journal group. And I put my big surface in, packed it up, and I still haven't completely unpacked from the retreat. So anyway, all right, so the next thing that I did is I took some Distress Oxide spray. I'm going to move this out of the way because this is my grandmother's milk glass cup. I don't want to get that all messed up. Okay, so I just took some of this, and I took some water, and you might want to wear gloves for this because this is kind of messy. So I've got some gloves here that I am definitely going to be using because, like I said, this is super messy. If I can get it on, holy cow. All right, what's going on? There we go. All right. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to take this, and we got the background now. That's pretty much dry. Look at that. That looks pretty cool. And we got this. And I'm just going to spray this on here on my mat. And I'm going to add water because I want this to oxidize. I want that nice, you know, creamy, dreamy thing. And then I just take like the edges of my paper and I kind of just dredge it through this, like this. You see how it kind of just, it's, you know, it just kind of gets the edges. Well, this is getting more than the edges, but you get my idea. Oops. Yeah, I'm trying to do this too quickly, but you get the idea. You can be more precise with it if you'd like to. Put this over here, kind of let it dry a little bit, and I'm using walnut stain with mine. There we go, let that dry over here for a bit. And then I'm going to take this too, and I'm just doing the same thing on the edges of this. And I'm pretty sure, because, you know, it's hard to get those areas in here. I think this is where I used like a brush, just kind of dabbing on around the edges some of this stuff. And that's how you get that really pretty kind of grungy look around the edges. And you can be more precise than I'm being right now, but I'm really trying to go fast, or fast-ish. So this, you know, we kind of get in within an hour. And I know we're already going over the hour, but I started like half an hour late. I apologize for that, everybody. Like I said, hopefully next time I'll know what to do. Okay. And I don't want this on the main part, so I'm just going to kind of, you know, get this off and put it on here. And I really want a lot like on this area, because this is not going to be the most gorgeous area right there. There we go. You can just add more as we go along. Okay. All right. So you can see how this is drying, you know, really pretty along the edges, right? I love this stuff. I love the grunginess of that. And, you know, I always go like a couple times with it just to get a nice, good grungy edges. Okay, let that dry. Again, that's probably enough on there for now. Oh, it hurts my heart to actually waste this spray. Because like I said, I use everything. Yeah. I might have to save the towel. I don't know. All right. And then just gonna clean that up a little bit. Wow, that stuff sure is messy though, gotta say. Super duper messy. Okay, I've got that. This went all the way over to my keyboard. Do you believe that? Wow. Okay. Okay. got all of that. All right, now I think when I did this, I just let it dry naturally, but for now, for this demo, I'm going to go ahead and dry at least this one. I'm not going to try to dry that one because it's plastic, and I don't want to melt it. I'm just going to wrap this in a baby wipe so that it doesn't dry like that. Okay. And I'm just going to use the little, drying tool thingy. What was it? Heat tool. Heat tool. All right, I'm going to look at comments. Okay. Yes, no waste, Karen. I know, right? I can't stand the waste. All right. Oh yeah, so Erin, we had a retreat. We have a local group that we get to get together for junk journaling, and yeah, we had a retreat like at the beginning of this month. It was so fun. Really, really nice venue, and just great people, and good food, and just lots and lots of fun. We had a wonderful time. Much needed break, and that was my Christmas present. So yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Okay, now probably if I were doing this, not on camera and trying to do it as a demo right now, I'd probably take and put it under some books again, just to make sure everything's nice and flat, and ready to go. But yeah, we don't have that luxury right now, so I'm just gonna dry it, and let's see. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and look at how cool this looks. I mean, for crying out loud. Look at how you get that beautiful gray on the sides here. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love it. I just love it. So pretty. Okay, so I'm just going to take that and kind of, I wouldn't normally do it. I just let it dry naturally, but since we're, trying to actually get this done before the Lunar New Year. Maybe that's past. Is the Lunar New Year already passed? I think it might have already. All right, and then I just make sure you get it the right orientation, because I almost just glued it like that. Okay, and then I just took and I glued this along the edge here like that. So I'm going to take my gloves off now. And I'll be honest, all I used to glue it down with the acetate was art glitter glue. It worked great. I was super surprised. I didn't really think it was going to. Now I did sew all along all the edges as well. I'm not going to be able to demo that here and now because I don't have it set up so that I can do that. But yeah, so I just, this part is just the vellum, so that's pretty easy to glue. But even this part here, and I know this is designed to like go over the edge of the page, but whatever, I didn't do that. And then I've got this like this. Okay, so maybe I actually didn't glue on the vellum or the acetate. Maybe I just glued on the vellum, but whatever I did, it worked. So, and I was super surprised that it did. All right, so I'm just putting it like this. Okay, and again, I'm gonna all right, there we go. And voila, you have a background. Now, this is very much more grungy than the sample, but That's because I was trying to do it fast. So if you want it just on the edges, you can be much more controlled with your walnut spray distress oxide. And if you want that kind of you know, beautiful gray toned, like multi-toned edges, you do need the oxides, not just the regular distress sprays. Okay, so there we go. Voila. I'm gonna go back to my face. Hopefully, let's see. All right. Oops. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, there we go. All right. Yay! Hi! All right. And I'm going to go over here so I can actually see this. All right. Okay. So let me see if I can scroll to the thing. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone being here and your patience. That was an hour. That was an hour. So I was like, I'm very impressed that I actually got this done in an hour, because I am the slowest crafter on the face of the planet. So anyway, hi Kara, hi Belinda. All right, thank you so much. Yes, the stencil material. All right, honestly, the stencil material, I'll have to link it. I want to try a different brand, because I don't want to promote the brand that I actually used. I have a philosophical problem with them. So anyway, yeah. So we'll you know, I'll let you know. I'll let you know what stencil material to use, okay? Because you do want to get one that is low tack, so that it doesn't ruin your paper. Okay. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Ellie. All right. Thank you, Claire. And thank you so much, Els. I appreciate everyone being here. I wish I had more capacity to interact. And maybe I'll be better about that next time, looking at comments and everything. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm glad that this worked out and you guys stuck around. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody and close down the live stream. So yeah, bye guys. Oh, this is Paper Crafty, and craft on. Gotta say that. All right, bye guys.